Hey everyone, in this video, I'm going to walk you through all the steps to properly change your tires, going from summer tires to winter tires or just mounting a spare tire. I'm going to show you how to do it with basic tools and fill you in on all the steps so that you don't have to reference any other videos. So for tools, I've got a jack here. This is a fancier jack, but any jack will work. Your vehicle should come with a jack as well. And then I have the only tool that I'd recommend that you need is a torque wrench. So this is a wrench where you can select specific torque, and you're going to need this for when you're fastening your lug nuts. Another nice tool to have is a breaker bar. This isn't mandatory. You can use a torque wrench. And then another nice tool is a torque wrench, an impact one. So this is super handy. If you don't want to spend all the money on one of these, a little hack that you can do, you can take a standard impact driver that has a normal bit and you can buy adapters for these. So this right here is a 1/4 inch to 1/2 inch adapter. So this fits a socket and you can mount it into your impact driver and use this for removing lug nuts. These adapters are like $3. So this is a nice little hack you can do if you don't want to go spending a couple hundred on one of those. On most vehicles, you can find the PSI of your tires. If you open up the driver's door, there's usually a printout here that will tell you what PSI to inflate your tires. So my tires are 30 PSI. Another common spot is on the lid of the gas cap. So before we start doing anything, I'm going to inflate our new tires to 30 PSI. I like doing this so that I have all my tires ready before I get started. So I'm simply going to thread this on, and then it's going to tell me this tire is at 7.5 PSI. So I'm going to increase it to 30 and let that start inflating. Before we jack our vehicle up, we want to put a chock behind a wheel. If you don't have a tire chock, you can just use a piece of wood, put it in behind a wheel so that the vehicle can't roll up or downhill. Next, we've got our jack. Every vehicle has a slightly different jacking point. Refer to your owner's manual to find that jacking point. I'll show you where it is on this Corolla. So if we come in here, I've got a jack point just underneath the rocker panel that I can use to lift this vehicle up. Before we lift the vehicle completely off the ground, we want to loosen all these lug nuts so that the tire doesn't spin once we get it up off the ground. So I've got my torque wrench. I'm going to set it to loosen, and these are a 21 millimeter socket. So simply left is loose, left is loosen. So I'm just going to go around, loosen all of these by hand. Now I've got all these broken free, so the lug nuts are moving. I'm going to get the tire up off the ground. So just like that, our tire is up off the ground. You see, if you were trying to break these free, the tire moves. So now I can fully loosen all these. Again, I'm showing you how to do it with just the torque wrench. If you had an impact driver, you could just twist these right off.
As you can see, I'm just removing the lug nuts with a socket in my hand. I find this a little bit easier than using the actual torque wrench. And again, if you have an impact driver, it really speeds this whole process up of removing the lug nuts.
So as you can see, we've got all the lug nuts on. Fairly commonly, if you live somewhere where they salt the roads, this connection rusts in here around the hub. So you have to give it a boot, which is going to get your tire off. Now that we have our tire off, a few good things to look at. Inspect the tie rods. Just look for any abnormal wiggling when you move on the rotor. And it's a good idea to check your brake pads and see how much of the pad is left. So our pads look good. Everything on this assembly looks good. So we're going to put our new tire on. So now that we've got this tire off, you want to label it. The passenger side is the right hand side. driver's side is the left-hand side. So this was our right front. So I'm gonna put an RF, and this is just a piece of chalk. So the reason we label is because we want to put these tires back on the same side. You don't want to go from the right-hand side to the left-hand side because these tires have belts in. And if you flip the sides, it's flipping the direction and it's going to damage the tire. Tires also have direction indicators, specifically on snow tires. If you look at this tire, there should be a direction indicator somewhere. So right here, there's a rotation. You want that arrow facing forward. So when you take your tire off, make sure you're putting it on the right side for the tire and label them when they're coming off. So when you put them back on, you get them on the same side. Just like that. We're gonna start all of these by hand. This is extremely important. If you're using an impact driver, you can easily cross thread these. So you want to thread them on by hand. And then if you have one of these impact drivers, you can put them on. Don't fully torque them down, just get them snug. So that would look like this. It's snug, but it's not tight. And if all you have is a torque wrench, simply twist all these nuts on to the point where they're snug. So I've got all these lug nuts on. As you can see, I can still turn these. They're just snug. It's important not to fully tighten them. The next thing we want to do is we want to lower the jack so the tire is just hitting the ground. As you can see, the tire's on the ground, so it's not going to move. Now we're going to torque all of these. Refer to your owner's manual or the internet to find the torque setting for your vehicle. It's different for every year, make, and model. This Corolla is approximately 95 foot-pounds. So I've got this torque wrench, and there's different numbers. As you can see, there's a 90. So I'm twisting this to the point where it's at 95 foot-pounds. Now I'm going to tighten all 5 of these. When we tighten these, we want to use a specific pattern, which is a star. We want to go opposite. That way, when we tighten these, we're tightening across. And if we were to just go around in a circle, you could actually warp your rotor. So I'll show you what this looks like. So here we go. With these torque wrenches, it clicks when it has hit the torque spec. So as you can hear, that means we're at 95 foot-pounds. So that one's done. I'm gonna go across. Down here. Just like that, we've torqued all of these. So this tire has been completely changed. It's a good idea. Take the vehicle out for a drive, and then after you park it, just reconfirm that all of those are still at torque, at the torque spec. Sometimes they can loosen. It would be very rare, but it's a good idea to drive it around and then double check them. So we can fully remove this jack, and that's one tire done. The process is the same for an entire vehicle. Just go around in a circle and do all the tires.
Thank you all for watching. If you have any questions, leave them below in the comment section. I try and respond to all the comments down there. You can also find me on social media at Myers Makes.